Hi, everyone. This is Barb Bruno, and I want to thank so many of you for signing up and attending our webinar today. And the title of what I'm going to cover today is how do you solve challenges that you will face during historic unemployment? Before I get into my program, I want to thank all of you because it's because of your comments, it's because of your requests that you've made on LinkedIn that basically motivated me to provide this training for all of you. I do appreciate all the comments you're making on the articles I'm posting on LinkedIn. And what I want to put out there is if there's any topic that you would like me to cover, all you have to do is send me a topic and I would be glad to write an article or put a post on LinkedIn about topics that are most important to you. Because right now, I think that we all need people that we can lean on. You know, we all need people that we know are going to have our back and share information. And I bring sort of a different perspective to the table because I've been in the recruiting profession for decades and I've helped thousands of people find employment. I also speak in front of, thousands of people every year. I'm in front of corporate audiences. I'm in front of talent acquisition audiences and audience of the staffing and recruiting profession. And I do weekly calls for job seekers. And those calls have been very interesting over the last 6 weeks. I usually have anywhere from 2,500 to 3,000 job seekers on these calls. And the calls have really changed, and it's given me firsthand knowledge of what is in the mind of so many employees that have been laid off and furloughed and what some of their concerns are. And these are things that I want to share with you today. In addition, I write courses for LinkedIn Learning. I've done like 14 courses for LinkedIn Learning. And so I'm on calls with executives from LinkedIn, and they're helping share some of the big data that they're noticing. And I can tell you, unfortunately, that many of the people that have been laid off and that are furloughed, and they might be furloughed and you might be still paying their benefits and assuming they're going to come back, but they're updating their LinkedIn profiles and they're trying to cover all bases. And so I'm hoping that by the end of this phone call, I'm going to provide you with some solutions that you can implement, and then I'm also going to offer to solve one of the issues I know you're facing for you. So let's get into our program without any further delay. Something that hasn't changed, even though most things have, is that individuals that are recruiters and in the talent acquisition profession, we're motivated by the same three things. And I think that's why I like everybody that I meet that's either in the recruiting profession or a talent acquisition professional, because we're all made from the same cloth. We want to make a difference. We want to improve the lives of the candidates that we represent. And I think that's why, when people ask me what I do for a living, I always give the same answer, especially when I'm at airports or flying somewhere. They go, "What do you do?" And I say, "I change people's lives for the better." And they always ask me, "Well, are you a psychologist?" And I go, "Well, sort of." "A teacher?" "Well, sort of." Because don't we do it all? Because it's so important that we get in the heads of the candidates we're representing to find out what they see themselves doing next, rather than pitching a job to them, because now they become engaged and retained, which is of course how you and I are judged. And the last thing, we want to fill open business with top talent. It's not enough for us to depend on job boards. And can you only imagine the amount of people that are going to apply now for every job board ad you put out there, a website posting? You're going to be bombarded not by hundreds of candidates, but possibly thousands, because you've got millions drawing unemployment right now. So the landscape has changed. What I'm going to try to cover today are all the current uncertainties. And there's uncertainties that job seekers have. There's obviously uncertainties that companies and hiring authorities are facing right now. And we're facing a lot of uncertainties. Then I want to get into some best practices. I'm going to give you specific solutions that you can implement immediately. And then I'm going to discuss a problem that I can actually solve for you. In addition, we're also going to cover the importance of the candidate experience, because that's more important than ever right now, and resources for job seekers that you won't hire in place, and how you could easily offer outplacement for your internal employees that you might not able to bring back, or as an additional revenue stream. If you're a private staffing and recruiting firm, this is something you might want to add into the services that you offer to your clients. So let's start out with the job seekers. They are filled with uncertainty and they are reevaluating their priorities. And I can tell you that we've been reaching out to the job seekers we're representing, and we've been reaching out to our own employees. And we're also reaching out to people in our database just to see where their heads are, for the titles that we know we're going to hire often. And what's interesting is when we were having discussions with them 6 weeks ago, they're much different than they are right now. And so when you're trying to reevaluate the priorities of your employees, the priorities of anybody that's in the interviewing process, or the people that you may have furloughed or laid off, you need to talk to them quite a bit and just ask them how they are. How are you doing? How's your family doing? And really find out, if in fact priorities have changed, because they keep changing, and because the world keeps changing, and the limitations we have on ourselves keep changing, and people have a lot of time to think right now. Safety is a major concern. There's people that are so glad that things are starting to open, and then there's more that are very worried that the economy is opening too soon. And they're scared, and they're worried that, they're watching numbers go up. And just for your information, I am not watching the news. Yes, I'm working from home. Do I have my TV on when I'm working? Absolutely not. I've got music in the background. I go to the CDC website every evening at 6 o'clock. I'm depending on LinkedIn's big data. And then I'm depending on what I'm actually experiencing when I'm out there talking to CEOs of major companies, or I'm talking to, job seekers. I'm doing those calls weekly, or, when I'm talking to my own employees or candidates that we're representing. And we all know that millions are drawing unemployment, or they've applied for unemployment. And the problem is so many people that have applied have not gotten any money yet. They're still waiting. Now they're going to get an additional $600 lump sum. And so unfortunately, at the time where you might be ready to call them back is when they're going to get this lump sum for all the past unemployment that they were due, as well as that extra $600, which again might affect their willingness to come back to work right now. The other things that are going on are schools are closed and daycare is an issue. And for those of you that have employees out there that are working virtual, as I do, I can tell you that my employees that have especially elementary school children, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, they feel like a teacher, and they've got 7 or 8 or 9-year-olds that unless they're supervising them, the schoolwork doesn't get done. And so, our current employees that are out there, I've changed a lot of the requirements, and I've changed, how I'm managing my employees that are working remote that have children opposed to those that don't. Because again, if you've got employees that are working virtual right now and they are also teaching, they are not going to be as productive on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. In fact, it's been proven, that even Wi-Fi, you notice I didn't do this call because I have hundreds of people on this call. I didn't schedule this on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday because, sometimes there's Wi-Fi issues because of the masses of people that are on the computer due to the children doing, virtual training. Some employees are very upset that they were laid off. And I can tell you that the tone of my job seeker calls has changed over the last 4 weeks, where now at first they were shocked and scared and couldn't believe what's going on. And now they're angry that they weren't kept, or that that they're furloughed, that they're not getting paid their salary. I mean, people are starting to get upset, and they are starting to put in their LinkedIn profile. They're online more than they've ever been before. They're checking salary surveys. They're doing all kinds of things because they're upset that they were laid off or furloughed, which again might cause a problem for us. Are they going to come back? When we want them to come back, are they going to come back? And there's some other people that are just afraid to return to work. If you have any employees that have health issues, or they're in the upper age bracket, or they're in any of the groups that are need to be protected more, they're afraid to go to work. And I point blank had people say that this has been a nightmare and I'm not going back. I'm not going back till January. If my company can't wait till January, then I don't know what I'm going to do. Or they're saying, I've been home with my family, but I haven't enjoyed them because I've been a teacher. And so I'd like to spend the summer with my kids. I've never drawn unemployment before. This is the first time in my life. I might decide to just draw unemployment for a while. And people are very confused about their new normal. I can tell you the one question I'm getting all the time from everyone, and this is from business owners, from executives, from job seekers, is when are things going to get back to normal? Everybody wants things to get back to normal. And quite frankly, they're not going to. It is going to be a new normal. Just like after 9/11, we're all living in a new normal. All you have to do is go to an airport to realize the new normal that 9/11 caused. Well, this is going to cause a new normal worldwide, and none of us know. I mean, we know that we're going to have to face social distancing. We know some of the things we're going to have to do, but they're changing day by day. They're changing day by day. And so, again, when people are confused, a confused person often doesn't want to make a decision. And you've got a lot of your employees right now that are just scared, confused, and they feel very disconnected right now, whether they're, one of your current employees or there's someone that had applied for a job with you and they're pending. Now let's talk about companies and hiring authorities because they're filled with uncertainty, but they did three things. The one thing that I've never seen done before, and I'm seeing it done all over, and I'm on phone calls. I speak at the CEO conference. I do a lot of speaking in front of events. And so I've been on many conference calls over the last month that people are inviting me to. And I can't tell you the number of top executives that have stopped taking paychecks, that are not going to have payoffs to their executives this year because they're trying to make up for some of their losses. So you see many executives taking cuts in pay, not taking their salary altogether, doing away with, all these incentive plans for higher executives because they acknowledge that this is a crisis that no one has ever faced before, and they had to make some immediate changes. They also had to address the economic impact on their bottom line. And that's why many of them decided that one of the quickest things they could do is go to the executive team and say, guess what? We're all taking a massive cut. Bonuses are gone, incentives are gone. And so many companies have decided not to pay out any bonuses, even up to the end of 2020, that they're all looking at, changing, the cuts they've taken in 2021 because they know they have to cut expenses while they're increasing revenues. And then they realized they had to have an action plan. The funny thing about the action plans is they've been very fluid. Everyone thought, even myself, we basically closed our offices, as of March 9th. I live in Indiana. And so, they basically said, we want you to go, work remote. And so as of March 9th, and what I said to my employees was that we're going to work through, March 3rd, which ended up being a Friday. April 3rd from home. We'll return to the office on April 6th. Well, it's May, and obviously we haven't returned to our office. And I happen to be in Lake County, Indiana, which is right outside of Chicago. And so we have the highest influx of cases and deaths in Lake County, Indiana, of our whole entire state. And so we're opening later than the rest of the state. The state of Indiana is starting to open, but not where I live and not where my business is located. So action plans are really dependent. Companies just can't go out there and do what they want to do. You're really restricted by the decisions your governors are making, your mayors are making, things that are coming down from, Washington. We're all very dependent on what we're hearing. And so your action plans are probably being rewritten and revised, and they have to remain fluid. But this is what basically we've done so far. Now, the things that have to go on, next is we have to redefine the new normal as it relates to your business. What is your new normal? Because obviously it's not the same for everybody. We're all facing different challenges. And so you have to redefine the new normal as it relates to you. And you're the one, when you're in talent acquisition or you're a recruiter, we seem to be the one that people turn to. They turn to us because they view us as a workplace expert. Now more than ever before, you can elevate the relationship you have with hiring managers because they're going to need you. They're going to need your input. You're going to be on the front lines. You're going to be talking to your employees. You're going to be talking to people that are furloughed and laid off. You're going to be talking to people that you were considering hiring, and then you're going to have to review and revise. Yes, you're going to make changes and you're going to have an action plan, but you're going to have to constantly review the results of your action plans. And if they're not working, you're going to have to make changes. I want to sort of compare this to, in the past, maybe to make a major change in your company would be like making a cruise ship change directions as opposed to a rowboat. It took you a lot longer to make a turn, where now we're having to make on-the-spot decisions and changes that are in the best interest of our companies and of the people that work for us. Because without the people that work for us, we don't have a business. And then you've got to reform to the new normal. And I think it's more important than ever before that you and I adapt to changes quicker than anybody else, because people will sense if we're not agreeing with decisions made. People will sense if we're trying to sell something that we don't believe in. And so it really is more, more important than I think anybody else in the company. You've got to be the person that becomes that change agent. You've got to be the person that embraces the changes your company is going to make. Right now, it's not our job to agree or disagree with anybody. Our companies and the leadership are making changes so your company, makes it through this time. And your employees and the people that are laid off or furloughed or future job seekers, we can't agree or disagree with what they're saying. All we have to do is decide, what's important to them, and are they going to be willing to come back and help us, or are they going to just want to step back for a while? Because again, everybody's coming from their own situation. So we have to be careful not to agree or disagree with people, but rather to become the best listener in everyone's life. And I think more important than ever before, you and I have to listen to understand where people are coming from, rather than when somebody says something to us, we give them a solution or we judge them. Right now, if we put ourselves in the shoes of the leadership of our company and see the world through their eyes, we're going to be able to become a trusted partner with them and help them more. If we see the world through the eyes of our employees or our future employees and where they're coming from, we're going to do a better job in what we do for a living. So we've really got to become the best listeners in everyone's life. Now let's talk about the employees and future hires need to know they can trust you. People will judge you by what you do, not what you say. I've been told for years, people that know me for years have always said I should be from the state of Missouri, because I guess Missouri is the show me state. And my whole life, I was a single mom for 15 years, and I've been a business owner for over 30. And it's interesting, people always tell me things, but then I learned the hard way that anybody can say anything. I'm going to judge people by what they do. And right now, your employees are watching what you're doing, and you've got to connect with them. They feel very disconnected. People are working remote that have never worked remote before, or people are laid off now not knowing what's happening. And you know what they're doing? They're listening to the news. You can't even watch a show on TV without a news, a newscast breaking in for some type of news on the coronavirus and giving numbers and these horrible statistics. And so they're scared. And so again, you've got to show them. I think we have to be that voice of calm. We have to over communicate. We've got to let them know they still belong, that we're still keeping in touch. And we have to proactively look ahead and communicate changes. We don't want to react. And you want information about your company. You want information about what you're doing to come from you. You don't want them to read it online. You don't want them to hear from another employee. You want information to come from you. We're great communicators. You wouldn't be in your profession if you weren't a good communicator. What you and I have to do right now is be really careful that we're listening twice as much as we're talking, and that when our companies are making changes, that we clarify our understanding of what they're saying. If they say that we're going to, we're really going to do this, in stages, I would love to know, can you define the stages for me? And if they give you information, make sure that you really clearly understand what's being communicated. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And now, more than ever before, you and I have to listen to everybody and then see the world through their eyes and then react. But sometimes, and especially hiring authorities, leadership, they're going to need us as a sounding board. If they know they can trust us and they start viewing you as that workplace expert, I think our desire is always to become a trusted advisor, to become a true partner with the people that we find talent for. Well, there's never been a better time to position yourself as that person. Now let's talk about you for a minute, because we're filled with uncertainty too. How do you answer the questions from your employees when half the time you don't know the answers? or they're asking questions you've never heard of, you've never heard before. How do you answer new questions for potential hires? What about people that are pending? And I can tell you that if you had anybody in the interviewing process and now you just delayed a start date, they're conducting a job search, because I've got some of them on the calls I do, and they're point blank saying, I had an offer pending, and now they told me they don't know, and I'm not, I just can't, wait for them to make up their mind, and they're saying maybe July, and what if it doesn't happen? So I'm conducting a job search. So if somebody is pending, and if there's somebody that you've been trying to find for 2 years, and you don't want to lose this hire, you may consider hiring somebody virtual, giving them something to do remote, getting them on your payroll now, doing remote onboarding, doing video interviewing. We had someone who got a job offer and they didn't want to accept it because they hadn't seen their office. It was an executive VP level position. They had not seen the office, and they had only met, their immediate boss via Zoom, and they hadn't met their coworkers. And quite frankly, she said, I love this company, I love the job, but until I see my office and until I meet my coworkers, I'm just not comfortable accepting a job. So when they're back and I can go in there and walk around and meet everybody, then I'm going to feel much more comfortable accepting the job. Well, the company wanted her to start the following Monday, and they wanted her to start working remote because she was the person they'd been looking for over a year. And so what I suggested to my employer was, why don't you take your iPhone and just do a virtual tour of your business? Like, get out of your car, show where you park, walk in, and just do a virtual tour and show your personality. Be kind of funny when you're doing this virtual tour on your iPhone. And then, show them, the desk where everybody works, show them their office, show them the window and the view they're going to see. Be as personable as you can be. And then show them the chair and say, all that's missing is you, and do more of a very informal tour of the business. And I said, and then get on the phone, do a Zoom call with her. And why don't we get a Zoom call going with all of her coworkers? And then what I want you to do is I want you to drop off the call. I don't want you to be on the whole call, because if you're on as the CEO of the company and everybody else that's on the phone, they're going to be more formal if the CEO is on the company and on the phone, rather, on the Zoom call. So I want you to drop off, make somebody else the host, so you drop off. And he did. And so that evening, she called us and said, I love them. I love the company. Let me think about it over the weekend. Well, what I didn't realize was 3 of the people on the phone call told her that they were having a Zoom cocktail party on Friday night at 6, and would she like to join them? And so she did. And evidently, all the people in this department got together and they all get the drink of choice, and they just tell jokes and have fun and talk about how crazy the world is. Well, she was on that call with them Friday night for an hour and a half, and she drunk dialed our recruiter and said, I'm taking the job. And the recruiter finally said, well, I think you've had a couple drinks. And she said, no, you don't understand. They are so much fun. I can't wait to interact with this team. I'm starting on Monday. I don't care what they want me to do. They're amazing. And so we never know what it is that's going to put somebody over that to say yes to a job we have pending. But can you wait to hire really great talent until this is all over? They might be gone. And so, you've got to think about these things. If there's some key hires out there that you've got on hold, you might reconsider, and again, you've got to adjust to, all these questions they're going to ask you. They're going to ask you about social distancing. They're going to ask you about if there's an elevator, how you're going to handle that. What about, the common lounge areas? What are they doing? If you're in a situation where you have to provide PPE, what are you providing? Will there be, disinfectants on everybody's desk? So people are going to ask us questions we've never been asked before. So we have to prepare now so that we know what the answers are. You have got to be that source of information. And if you don't know the answers, find out. Like, you do not want, and by the way, if somebody asks you a question and you don't know the answer, don't just give an answer. Say, you know what? I don't know. I'm going to go back and I'm going to check and I'll get back to you, because that's a great question. And the fact that you want to know that, I'm sure some of our other employees want to know that as well. Let me find out. I'll get back to you within an hour and get back to them with an answer. And again, your hiring authorities and your clients are going to be asking questions. And you know what? You've got to bring questions to their attention that you're being asked by your employees, that you're being asked by possible new hires. Because hiring authorities and clients are not necessarily on the firing line like you are, talking to employees, talking to candidates every day. And as recruiters, we've got to keep talking to everybody constantly and not pitching things to them. Call and just see how they are. I've had so many people say it's just so nice hearing from you and interacting with an adult. Like, it's so much fun to talk to you, and they're at home. They can talk more openly. We're learning so much about people right now that we've never had time to learn. So there are some hidden advantages. The other thing you have to do is you've got to adjust to the continued realignment and transition. You're going to feel like every time you turn around, another change is going to be thrown at you, and it is. And so, you've got to address that right now. Let's look at the excitement of this. And I don't want to be Susie Sunshine here, but we have to feel that we're going to be smarter and stronger at the end of this. What are we learning? But we're learning that we have to adapt to change. Somebody asked me how I'm adjusting, because I'm obviously an extrovert. I've never worked virtual before. I love interaction. I love being in front of my customers. I'm a speaker. I speak at 26 conferences a year, and most of them have canceled. And so I'm used to being on a plane or in front of groups or reacting. And somebody asked me how I feel, because I keep saying I'm adjusting, it's fine. And finally I admit it. I feel like a butterfly that someone has shoved in a cocoon and nobody will let me out. And I'm screaming to be let out. Nobody will let me out. And finally, I realized, after being at home now, almost 7 weeks, I am adjusting to it. I love doing these things. I love putting the articles on LinkedIn and hearing your comments. I would love suggestions from you on what you want me to do next. I'm here for you, because this motivates me, but we all have to adjust. Whatever you don't like, you can't go out there and say, if they throw another change at me, I'm going to scream, because it's going to happen. You're going to find out that candidates are going to be less likely to relocate for work. Many current employees and new hires are going to request to work remote. It's interesting. My business manager, who I lean on constantly, has said to me probably 20 times in the last 6 weeks, I love working remote. I'm getting so much more done. I love working remote. Where what I've been saying is, I really miss Beth. Like, I realize how much I lean on her, because I miss her so much. And what I've realized over the last 6 weeks, Beth doesn't miss me at all. In fact, she's getting so much more done because she doesn't have to interact with me on a continual basis. And at first I was thinking, oh my God, she's not missing me, like I'm really missing her. And then I'm thinking now, as a business owner, do I let Beth work remote when we go back? Not what I want to do. That's not what I want. But if she's happier and if she's more productive and she's getting so much done, I mean, I can't believe the work that woman is getting done not being in our office. Is it a smart business move for me to let her work remote? I'm seeing companies hire IT contractors right now that they've never allowed to work remote. And obviously they're keeping cybersecurity people very busy figuring out, how can they keep from being hacked when so many people are working on their own personal computers. But I'm amazed at how many IT contractors are working remote right now. And you may have some of your employees say, I want to work remote. And this is something that you've got to discuss with leadership. You can't have everybody working remote, but those people are doing great at working remote. Those people that are still engaged and doing well, I have a feeling I'm going to have to let Beth work remote. Not what I want, but it's in the best interest of my business. And you're going to see a lot of job seekers opting for temporary or contract work. As of January 2020, there were two big shifts that happened in the job market before COVID-19. The first shift was over 50% of the workforce are millennials. And by 2025, 75% of the workforce are going to be millennials. So that was one huge shift in January. The other huge shift in January is, for the first time in history, more than 50% of the workforce is not working a traditional 40-hour work week. And so if you're only offering the traditional 40-hour work week in the office, you're going to miss out on 50% of the population. Now, that doesn't mean that 50% are working remote. Some are independent contractors, some are working as temporary contractors, some are owning their own businesses or working for resources like Upwork or Fiverr. And by the way, those are two resources that if you need things done now and you're not in the office and you don't have support people and you just need to get things done and you're doing things that are not best use of your time, consider Fiverr. It's Fiverr. It's the number 5 with an extra R, Fiverr. They'll do anything you need done for $5, hoping that you'll come back and do something that costs more money. So think about that. And we're not in this all together. If I hear people complain about one thing more than anything else, people are tired of hearing we're in this together. We're not in this all together. Your location impacts your option. If you're in hospitality or travel, you've been all but obliterated by this coronavirus. You've been really hard hit. Healthcare, teleworking, software, grocery, pharmacy, and tech support are surging. You see all these new companies. There's a new company now that is putting this thermostat outside of businesses where it takes everybody's temperature as they walk in the door. A lot of new companies, new businesses are thriving. But a great example of this is I just read online yesterday where CBS is working. They partnered with Hilton and Marriott to hire their employees, and they're hiring something like 10,000 employees because CBS is flourishing right now because there's such a focus on healthcare. Now let's talk about best practices. What do you have to do now? These are things you can do. You have to determine safety accommodations now, okay? You have to look at, can you social distance? And if you can't do it 6 feet apart, can you do something different? Can you put dividers of some kind? Because many people are going to be scared about, being close to their coworkers. Are you setting a time frame to reinstate furloughed or laid off employees? Even if you have a tentative date, you've got to give those dates because you've got to be communicating with your current employees. You can't lay somebody off and then they don't hear from you, because when you call them back, they're going to say, no, I didn't hear from you. I didn't know what you were doing. You know what? I'm drawing unemployment and I'm taking the summer off, or I'm going to stay off to the end of the year. And I'm hearing this from so many job seekers right now. You've got to track very carefully what percentage of furloughed employees are returning, because you may decide, okay, I'm going to call 50% of the furloughed employees back, and you only have 20% come back. And so what are other options that you have to face? I was on a line with executives from major corporations this past Monday, and what are we going to do? And some of them are talking about hiring temp workers, contractors in the interim until they see what their furloughed employees are going to do long term. And let's talk about other best practices post-coronavirus. You've got to start conducting video interviewing. You've got to revamp your interviewing process. Your interviewing process shouldn't be more than 4 interviews. Maybe you want to start having panel interviews to combine 2 and 3 interviews into 1 interview. LinkedIn Learning called me a month ago, and when they asked me to do a course for them, it takes a year. It takes a year to get it approved, for me to write it, for us to get a producer, for everything to get approved, and for them to launch it. They called me a month ago. The course got approved yesterday. I was sent the producer's name today, and I'm going to film the course at home because they've got 20 courses that they feel people need right now, and video interviewing is one of them. They said, people don't know how to video interview. Do you know how to video interview? And I said, of course I do. And so they've got me doing a course now on video interviewing, and they want to launch it next month. I don't know how that's going to happen. That means I have to write it and film it and get it done by next month. But video interviews are something you have to get comfortable with. And there's so many different resources, whether it's video conferencing or Zoom or Skype or webcam, there's so many ways of doing this. Get comfortable with it. Create a virtual tour of your business, and it doesn't have to be formally done. I'm telling you, a CEO of a company went in and did a virtual tour for one of our people pending, and she loved that he was saying, oh, and look at this. And you can tell the people have kids. Look at all the pictures at their desk. I mean, it was a fun virtual tour, and people react to videos. If you're not doing videos to attract people, videos is the way to go right now. And, the videos should be fun. Have your employees make some videos that they can share with potential hires, and that goes much further than anything that you and I can say or do. And can you adapt to a video onboarding process? Because you're going to have to in some instances. Because again, a light switch is not going to turn and all of a sudden we're all back at work. Some other best practices is you've got to identify top priorities. What are the top priority hires that basically you're going to have to fill? And if you've got a top priority hire, what are the performance objectives? And I don't have that on this slide, but I think more important than ever for you and I right now is anybody that has us working on a job, what we have to ask them is, what are the performance objectives? Because sometimes they're not thinking about how things have changed and what they need from a person. So they give us an old rec to work from. This is what they filled the job with a year and a half ago. It's not the same market right now. And so if you get any jobs from hiring authorities, ask them for performance objectives. How are you going to evaluate this person in 6 months, in a year, and say, God, they were a great hire? because too often they give us a laundry list of skills. And then when you ask them, how are you going to evaluate this person? There's a big disconnect. So identify top priorities and also ask for performance objectives so you know how the candidates you provide are going to be judged. Get target dates to fill in interviewing times, and really try to combine interviews, try to do video interviewing. These ideas have to come from you. You know, you want to initiate your recruiting efforts after you know you've got a target date to fill, you've got everybody on the same page, and you know that interviews are going to be held, not waiting till, you know, everything comes back. And you've got to be the one that embraces the new interviewing processes, make suggestions to people how you can attract the best talent by streamlining your interviewing processes. You've also got to market top talent to your hiring authorities. There's talent out there right now that hasn't been available in 3 years. You know, just think about this. 8 weeks ago, we had so many jobs we couldn't fill, and we were screaming. Some of our jobs were staying open for 6 months, a year, 18 months. Some of those people are available right now. And if you've got talent that you know hasn't been out there for 3 years, I'm seeing companies scoop in and hire them now and let them work remote until this turns around, because they realize in another couple of months they won't be there again. You've got to realize the value of temp and contract employees, because they can really back up, you know, your core employees, and update the new priorities of candidates and hiring authorities, which continue to change. My suggestion is every time you have a conversation with a candidate or a hiring authority, I want you to ask one question. Has anything changed since the last time we talked? Because you're going to be shocked at how much is changing. If you don't ask that question, they might not tell you, but something major might have changed. So starting today, every time you talk to somebody that you've talked to maybe even a week ago, ask them, has anything changed since the last time we talked? And you've got to be the one that has the best information. Some other things you have to do is you have to create a process to handle a much higher volume of resumes. You've got to realize that everybody on unemployment, those millions of people on unemployment, they have to write down every Friday what they've done to find a job. And they're going to be applying to every job you post. They're going to be, you know, trying to have, they've got to book interviews. They've got to follow up. They've got to show they're looking for a job. And so you are going to be bombarded by people that don't have the qualifications that you hire. And you've got to improve the candidate experience, because this is going to turn around. And when it flips around, it's going to be candidate driven again. Hard talent is going to be hard to find, but people will remember how you treated them. And if they're not treated nicely now, they're not going to want to work for you in the future. You know, if you treat people well and give them a great candidate experience, it will increase referrals. You know, and these are the talent that you can hire or place, and you're going to eliminate negative posts on social media. Your people are online now more than they've ever been online. They are. And if there's a negative post on there, that could prevent you from hiring people when you really need them. And so you've got to be very, very cautious. The candidate experience right now is more important. And we're not even thinking about that. A lot of people that I'm talking to, how are we supposed to do that when we've got all these other things going on? It's something you have to think of. Because basically, you know, according to Forbes and LinkedIn and Career Builder, the experience a candidate has with you, with your company during an interviewing process impacts their future buying decisions. So most individuals that you and I talk to, they've had an experience with a recruiter. It's either been positive or negative, and that impacts how they interact with us. This experience also impacts their future buying decisions of your products or services. I was on a panel, and I'll never forget, there was a woman on there that was the regional VP of HR for a huge pizza chain. And she said, we've got to do something to improve the candidate experience, because if people send us an application and they don't hear from us, they stop buying our pizza. And she goes, and we're losing a ton of customers, because when they apply for a job here, they feel we're ignoring them. In any type of relationship, and I want you all to think about this, and this is a relationship you have with your spouse or partner or friends or family or kids, people want to know 3 things. People want to know that they can trust you, that you care about them, and you do what you're going to say. So whatever you tell people you're going to do, they want to know they can bank on that. This is in any relationship. When a candidate applies to you for a job and you don't hire them or you don't place them, their perception is that you failed at all 3. And again, it can really affect us when this turns around. When a candidate applies for a job and they're not hired, they feel like a number. Sometimes they're resentful because you haven't communicated. And they're very compelled to write a negative post on social media, especially now, because they have a lot of time. you need to watch what's being said on Glassdoor. You need to watch what's being posted right now, because again, more negative posts are out there than I've ever seen before, and that will hurt you, when we're on the other side of this. On the other side of this discussion, of course, is your success. Your success depends to a great extent on your ability to focus on the talent that you're going to hire or place. And you want to hire or place people who are going to be engaged and retained. So you've got to focus on the people that have the skills and experience and stability that you need. And so often the people that we don't hire or place don't have those things, but again, they're disappointed. If you do provide results, some type of results to every candidate, their positive experience, again, they'll send you referrals. It'll give you improved word of mouth advertising, positive social media posts, and you will fill jobs faster with the best talent because you're focusing on the talent you're going to place, but you're providing resources to the candidates you can't place. And we all have to keep in mind, again, I'm a business owner, and I can tell you that every business owner I know has two things in mind right now. We've got to increase revenue and profits, and we've got to reduce expenses. That's the greatest challenge that your company is hiring. And often they look at talent acquisition and recruiting as expenses, which I've never understood that, because I believe that you are the heart of your company. When I speak at corporate events, I always share my belief that without recruiters and talent acquisition professionals, companies could not survive. And I say that at every conference I address. And I want you to embrace the fact, the reality that you are the heart of your company. You recruit the talent that helps your company attain goal set. You help candidates advance their careers. And I'm telling you, you are needed now more than ever before. And you're going to be needed for a lot of new things you've never done before. I think the value of what you and I do is critical right now. Also, candidates need to know that they can succeed in the new normal. They need you to be calm and confident and resilient. If you're having a bad day, if you're panicky one day, then you've got to go back to when you felt the best about yourself, and that's the person that has to interact with your employees or future hires. We can never not be calm. In fact, it's interesting. We've had so many people, and I've been on the phones constantly, and I've had so many people say to me, it's just so good talking to someone that is asking me what I want to do next, that wants to know how my priorities have changed, because they have, and you realize I'm reevaluating what's important to me, and you're like a voice of hope, like you're giving me hope, like you're talking about when this turns around, because nobody's talking about that. It's if it turns around. Oh my God, it's going to come back. Is it safe to go out there? Where you sound calm. And we all have to be that. Wouldn't it be great if it's our profession that calms people down, that we give them hope? They've been through enough. They have been through enough, which is why a positive candidate experience is more important than ever. Now, how can you improve the candidate experience? And this is a problem I can help you solve. This is the one problem and the only problem. I've given you a lot of problems. I've tried to give you things you can do, but this is something I can help you with. You can do nothing, and continue to only assist a small percentage of the candidates you attract. But I'm telling you, with the millions that are being unemployed, you're going to be bombarded with resumes and CVs. Or you can develop a resource to help them, which is a great idea, but it is time consuming and expensive to develop a resource. And right now we're looking to save money and obviously increase revenues. Or you could set up a customized Happy Candidate career portal. This is something that I created for my business a few years ago. And then I had companies come to me and say, how do I get that? And I go, you don't. It's something I developed. As a recruiter, it's bothered me my whole career that I don't help the majority of people that I attract. I can only help people that have skills and experience and stability. And it killed me. And so finally, I hired a software company. We now private label these career portals. And this is a resource that you could send everybody you don't hire to. So what you help everybody. You say, yes, we've got a job, or right now we don't have an appropriate opportunity, but I have a resource that can help you. Imagine the benefit if you offered a career portal that helped everybody that came to you, that offered live weekly webinars. Just imagine, that you will have increased referrals. You'll have positive social media posts. It stops the call-ins. Do you know that most recruiters get 90 minutes a day of call-ins, people just asking for an update? And what's nice is they're going to perceive that this resource was created by your company. because they're private label. They have your logo, your colors, your company name on it, and basically there's a free resume builder in there. Those live weekly webinars, I do them and they don't know who I am. They think I work for you. I do a live weekly webinar. Every week I get on and go, hi, welcome to this week's job seeker call. I really want to help you find a job. And I cover topics that they ask for. And again, I never give them my name. We're nowhere to be found. It appears that you did this. We send them weekly emails updating them on the job market. And there's a 3-stage process in the career portal that helps them find a job on their own. We broke it down into prepare, search and connect, and interview. We also have the Indeed job board in here. So if they put in their specs of what they're looking for, they get an email from your career portal every time they have a match, and it comes from your company. So they think your company is monitoring job boards for them, and they love that. Our current clients include corporations and staffing and recruiting firms, colleges, veterans groups. What they've told me is that it's increased efficiency and it's eliminated their greatest time waster. And again, think of all the candidates drawing unemployment who need to prove they're conducting a job search. And so instead of ignoring these people, the companies that own my career portal are getting thank you notes and cookie bouquets and flowers. And most importantly, they're getting increased referrals. The other thing is if you're asked to speak at a job fair, if you're, any community group, I think all of us have a philanthropic, part of our personalities. And I offer my career portal to churches, to synagogues, to battered women's shelters, anybody that helps people find jobs, I give them access to my career portal. So the community loves it because I'm giving them this resource. They get calls every week and they love this. There's something else. If you've got employees that you've laid off, or furloughed and you're not hiring them back, you can offer them access to your career portal to help them find a job and tell them you're giving them weekly calls. And you can help save money on outplacement services. You can offer this instead of outplacement to your current employees. If you're a staffing and a recruiting firm, you could actually set up an outplacement business and make the career portal part of your business. And so again, we provide a step-by-step process with options and templates. So whether you're a corporation or a staffing and a recruiting firm, when you invest, we will send you templates, everything you need to basically provide outplacement services, either to your internal employees or to external. And again, there's 3 choices. You can do nothing, or you can develop your own site, or you can set up one of our career portals. But you will have more candidates than ever applying for your jobs. And I would love to help you solve this problem with option number 3. And you're probably thinking, oh my God, it's thousands of dollars. We can't do this. What I'm telling you, anybody that's on this call, this resource can be set up in less than a half an hour. And the cost for a year is $599. So $599, it can basically set up this resource for you. It's set up as soon as you pick the URL for the domain name of your career portal. It's customized, and you can start offering it to your employee in a matter of days. It takes 30 minutes to sign it up. And I'm going to leave this offer valid for anybody on this phone call until May 31st. So if you're not the person that can make this decision, you're going to get a recording of this call. And I want to share, I want you to share it with whoever makes the decision. I'm also going to share a poem at the end of this presentation that has motivated me as a recruiter my entire career. And I hope you take the poem I'm going to share and post it where you work, because it really describes what you and I do every year. And it was part of the wording of that poem that made me create this resource in the first place. When you set up a career portal, you can go back to the 3 things that mean the most to you. You can make a difference. You can improve everybody, every candidate that your company attracts, you can help. And you can focus on the candidates that are going to fill your requisition. So you give resources to most of them, and you focus on the 5% you're going to hire. When you invest, your company benefits, your team benefits, and you benefit. And candidates are happy. I've called this career portal the Happy Candidates Career Portal, which is really cheesy. I'm kind of cheesy. I just want people to be happy. I want to help everybody. And this has allowed me to do it. They never see that name, by the way. Now, before I answer questions, I want to go over a poem that I've had this hanging by my desk for years, and I suggest you print this out when you get this, back from us. And the poem is, I really do think that it'll inspire you, and it's what you and I do. Is anybody happier because you passed their way? Does anyone remember that you spoke to them today? The day is almost over and the toiling time is through. Is there anyone that will utter a kind word about you? Can you say tonight in parting, with the day that's slipping fast, that you helped a single person of the many that you passed? Is a single heart rejoicing over what you did or said? Does the one whose hopes were fading now with courage look ahead? Did you win the day or lose it? Was it well or sorely spent? Did you leave a trail of kindness or a scar of discontent? As you close your eyes in slumber, do you think that God will say, you've earned one more tomorrow by the good you did today? And I can tell you, the people I know in our profession, we do such good every day that when we close our eyes in slumber, you know that you've spent your day helping everybody. And I don't know how many people can say that at the end of their workday. You and I have a very unique career where we change people's lives on a daily basis. And I want to congratulate all of you. Now, this offer is not on our website. We do have a happycandidates.com website. If you want to go to happycandidates.com, you can go on that website. But if you want to order or if you have any questions, please email jsvedich@goodasgoldtraining.com. I've got the URL for the order for the, it'll actually, give you to our site. And I'm going to leave that up in another slide. But again, we're going to send this to you. You're going to get a recording of this call. But if you want to write down the J. Svedich, I love her last name. I couldn't have like a Smith or a Jones. It has to be Svedich, Svedich at Good as Gold Training. Email her. She'll call you and answer any questions that you have. So if you've got questions and you want to talk to somebody, please call Jody. If you go to the URL, it'll lead you to this order form, and you can see where we've given the special $5.99 annual every year. And again, this is a resource you'll use. And when you give this to somebody, they can use it for their entire career. And so again, there's the URL, and this is my email address. And the reason I put my email addresses there is because if there's any article that you want me to write on LinkedIn, I want you to email it to me. If you have a question that you personally want to ask me, I want to be able to help you. And so, I do suggest if you've got questions about the career portal, please send those to Jody Svedich. Because again, we've got thousands of people on this phone. But if you've got any suggestions on articles you want me to write, or if there's anything I can help you with, I'm sharing my personal email address because I care about every person that's on this phone. And now, I think the most important part of any call is your questions. You can ask me questions one of two ways. Go to the control panel on the right. When you came in, you put in a telephone number, an access code, and a PIN number. If you want to talk to me one-on-one, click on the attendee area and see that little hand. If you click on it, it unmutes your line and you and I can talk. Or you can type in a question by going to the word questions down below and typing in your question. If you don't want, you don't want me to say your name, put confidential or personal first. I don't want to say anybody's name, and I'm just going to use your first name. Will we get the slides and presentation? Yes. I got a job offer in February to start in March. I didn't start because of the quarantine, but now because of uncertainty, I feel like I should have taken it. The position is an HR manager role for a Fortune 500 company in Africa. What should I do? How should I communicate with the potential employer? What I would say to you is email me. You have my personal email address. That's a long question. It's very personal, and I'll help you. So just email me that question when we're done. I think our biggest challenge is the testing our clients require. We've shifted to online testing, but feel like it's best to continue in order to cut down on foot traffic in the office. We're faced with the challenge of standing behind the idea of unmonitored testing. Again, I can tell you that colleges are doing a proctor test. Look for testing that you can do where there's a proctor, where there's not as many, there's not as many chances to cheat. So there's many testing that is available with a proctor. I'm based in Australia. Can I available the offer of the site? If so, will the resume builder be appropriate for the Australian market? Yes, it will. I sell the career portal worldwide, Brian. In fact, I distribute training products in 17 countries. And so I've sold this in 17 countries. Can we see your Happy Candidates site live? Yes. The site will be hosted. We host the site. We basically pay for your domain name, but we host the site for you. And you could put like a button or a badge on your website. Our team will help you do that. But again, if you want to see a live site, when you get the recording from us, we have a sample site that we can send to you where you can go in there and register as a job seeker and see how it works. in the long run, do you expect this to be better for recruiting agencies now that internal talent teams have been slashed? Will they come back? I don't think anything is going to come back right away. I'm one of the most positive people you are going to meet. I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of hiring done 90 days from now. I think part of the problem is going to be that, that a lot of people are basically going to not come back. There's going to be so many people that are not going to come back. And so I think that, I think companies are scared to death that, yes, you furloughed a lot, but who's coming back and who's not coming back? So, you have to take this a day at a time, everybody. It's going to be a new normal. Be open to change, but don't expect something to happen right away. Are there any hidden costs, or is this really only $5.99? There are no hidden costs. And again, you've got my email. Jody Svetich's email was jsvetich, JSVETICH @goodasgoldtraining.com. And so you can either contact her, or if you've got questions, you can contact me. I'm going to put her email back up here with the URL. And so again, do not order. If you go to happycandidates.com, I don't want you to order from the site because the price there is $9.99. We're giving a special offer for those of you on the phone. So I thank you. I look forward to interacting with you. I plan to stay in touch. I plan to keep writing articles, and I appreciate every one of you. And let's go out there and let's be that voice of reason. And I have your back. Just so all of you know, I have your back, and we have to stand together, and we will get through this. So thank you, everybody, for joining me. I appreciate you, and I look forward to interacting with you. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.